So, Shawn, I see you figured one more time for the road, right? You came in with the mess and you're going to leave out with the mess. And Tori, as far as I'm concerned, you should already be sitting at no for your decision. But for whatever that unacceptable conversation entailed that you had with Felipe before linking up for decision day was that had you all in your feels, then based off of that, I'm going to need you to go ahead and put that cherry on top in the form of a no.
Like it's delirium, ay, ay, like it's delirium, ay, I got delirium, ay, like it's delirium, yeah, yeah, like it's delirium. She just wanna bounce to it, baby, get your giddy on. Walk up to the stage with a drink like I'm Giveon, but I never came here to sing what I'm really on.
What's going on, y'all? It's your girl Taina B here, and welcome to my chat party. If you're here to join me for a little bit, a lot of bit, fashionably early, fashionably late, to hear my little thoughts, my little views, my little opinions on Married at First Sight Season 20, Episode number 18, the final countdown. Cause it's the final countdown. Then I appreciate you so much from the bottom of my heart, just taking your time out to come rock with me, party with me for a little bit. To those of you who will join the VIP party guest list by subscribing, thank you so much in advance. For those of you who are already subscribed and still sitting on subscribe, thank you so much. I see, some of you might have left, and that's all good. Do your thing. Maybe you'll come back, maybe you won't, but it's all good. I know it's the way that it goes. I just appreciate whoever is here, the support, the likes, the sharing, again, the sweet comments. Truly appreciate it. But I've got to go ahead and get into this because I've got enough to say, and I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can say it and the amount of time that I have thinking in my head. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to jinx it. But anywho, y'all, so it's the final moment at the or final morning of the couples retreat. Everyone's gathered in the kitchen after that awkward night of Mecca and Caitlin flirting with one another, and Devin and Caitlin getting into it. But I said, not Cam with his messy self getting the party started, talking about, oh, we're all back together again. Is everything okay? And I said, the one thing I will say starting off is that you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Because I would have never guessed that Cam has the personality and the petty and the shady that he has within. Because I just feel like initially he gave off kind of like just more reserved and just mainly serious most often than not, right? So it's been kind of funny to see these sides of him. I know sometimes we just kind of like, okay, chill out for a second, Cam. But for the most part, it's been pretty entertaining. So I appreciate him for that. But Devin ends up sharing that him and Caitlin are done and he's heading back to Seattle. I am so happy for him. He's going to be so happy for him when he looks back on all of this. And he doesn't want to continue their toxic cycle because it's emotionally draining. And I said again, good for you, Devin. And Caitlin's talking about what she's tired of next. But Devin said he's tired of the disrespecting conversations. And Devin, I surely was tired of it too. I probably could speak for the majority of us when I say we all were tired of it because it was just getting crazy to watch. At first, I kind of was thinking it might be you a little bit, maybe like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ish, maybe something or another. But then I started to get with the program and pay attention. And let her and her BFF, Courtney, go ahead, sit down and be miserable, lonely, disrespectful women together until they have their awakening and do better and be better. But if you wanted one more little messy moment from Cam, then your wish came true. Because then he goes on to mention that there's rumors Mecca was trying to do a couple swap last night. And so you got people laughing. Of course, you hear Felipe's mouth the loudest, but Bel Jolie is looking visibly upset about that because technically it's not funny at all at the end of the day, right? It's a very serious situation. And in Mecca's side interview, he said something that was telling to me as I was listening, because with mentioning he sees Caitlyn as a really, really good friend, I'm like, oh, that's all you see her as? Yeah, okay. He went too far, probably more so in Devin's eyes, but though he's had a great time, it seems to be at the expense of other people. And I said that right there. I just feel like that's his life story. I really do, particularly an aspect that I feel Belle Jolie has always and is always trying to pacify. And I've explained that to you guys on more than one occasion because it's happened on more than one occasion. And to me, it's so fitting and so true. It's like he does these things and then she comes behind him and just she's the cleanup woman. And I just don't understand that. I don't agree with that. And I feel like she's going to get tired of doing that. But let's move on. So Devin and Mecca speak. They end up breaking off at some point. It's him, Mecca, and Bel Jolie upstairs in the room. And Mecca says he can't help but feel responsible for them ending their marriage. And Devin lets him know it's totally not his fault, but it's all based on how Caitlyn responded to the situation. And he said Mecca's overstepped, and this is what he's saying now in his side interview, and he got called out, but he apologized. And I said, sidebar, is that a pattern with Mecca? Or is that a pattern with Mecca? Like, he oversteps in some type of way and then he ends up apologizing for it, like, yeah, okay. But then, he says there's no hard feelings and he leaves. He says he's proud of the effort he put into the marriage, and I'm proud of him as well. He was not going to dim his light and wasn't going to be delusional to make it work, and I love that. I told y'all that too. Even with it being shy of like a few days before decision day, yes, let's end this, because it's like we're going to continue to be in miserable and drag each other in the mud along for what? Through the pits of hell for what? Just to get this to decision day and say the same things that we're saying now. I don't need these next few days of stress and aggravation. Like, I'm good. And so he gets his little stuff and he pulls off in his little car without her being there. She has to end up hitching a ride with some others. And I just feel bad for him in that regard because I again feel like he really did try, and he was just paired with a horrible match. He said that she's an amazing girl and all of that. And maybe, right? I'm gonna give her a little type of positive review. Okay. I'm gonna leave her my little star rating review and give her a 1 star at least, because maybe she's an amazing person as it relates to being a friend. Maybe she's an amazing person as it relates to being single. Maybe she's an amazing person as it relates to being a great coworker or a great sister or a great daughter, but a great wife, yeah, no. And so Caitlyn's acting like she's just so upset with things and how they ended. And low key, at first I was like, yeah, girl, okay, cry me a river. But then I said, you might be upset for real, because as you stated, overall, based off the little things that you said, he was good to you. He was, and you weren't used to getting that type of treatment. When I tell you, that's not something that is easy to come by on a regular basis in this lifetime, in these days and times. And I'm sure a lot of y'all out there, my party peeps, can attest to that. So it's like when you do see things that are so good that you can work with and they overtake the bad, because everybody's going to come with bad or some type of negative, that's the stuff you work with. But no, like you didn't even say or put out there, oh, well, you know what? I have these issues that I probably need to work with, but I still see the good in you. I don't like where we keep coming to this, but because of the good qualities and what I would like and hope for this to be, let's really just keep the counseling going. Maybe we need to do counseling like a couple of times a week out of the week, or at least once a week or something. If you can't do that much, once a month. But it's like you're not even making any type of effort. And it still was just giving at the end of the day, to me, what was giving from the beginning, which was that you just weren't invested for your own selfish, stinking reason. You weren't invested, and that's on you. And now we're going to go ahead and slide past these car rides home because the folks are talking and having their jokes. But then Mecca says something that's annoying or another. And then Belle, per usual, coming in to swoop and save the day. Mecca, don't talk about yourself like that. And then you got Nikki chiming in, yeah, don't say that. I'm like, no, say that, because I don't know what y'all doing, but this man has been a piece of work. But okay. So Felipe meets with his mom and his good friend at their restaurant, and he's filling them in pretty much on his status and his thoughts as it relates to Tori. A noticeable thing he says to me is that he can't be himself around Tori. And I'm like, that's a problem, because if you can be most comfortable with anyone, it in fact should be your spouse. And though his friend confirms he says stupid things, she also explains it's who he is. And maybe it'll just take time for Tori to get used to. And I said, friend, no, there's things we need to work on in life for our own healthy progress. And just because we may be a certain way with certain things doesn't make it okay. It really doesn't. It's like it's always irritated me. Maybe not so much now, but it used to when people used to always say, "Oh, well, with such and such, that's how she is," and "Oh, with so and so, that's just how he is." And I'm like, okay, that might be how they are, but does that make it right? That's not okay. It's just that I learned, okay, well, you're right. That might be how they are, but guess what? I'm not dealing with that. So that's just no excuse for poor behavior. There's things we can work on, and I'm sure we can probably print out or write out a little list. And if you can't write out a list, you can at least write a good three things that you know you can do better with instead of covering up and just being like, oh, well, this is what I do. So it's okay. So I just wasn't with it. I'm like, oh, you one of those kind of friends. But, anyways, at the apartment, and simultaneously, Tori's on FaceTime with her little sis. And a comment that she made in her conversation is when she says that she doesn't think you should just end things because they're hard stuff. And no, you shouldn't. But the point of it all, Tori, is what do those hard stuffs look like? You know what I mean? Like, what do those hard things look like? That's where, again, you have to weigh your pros and cons. And those pros are supposed to outweigh those pros are supposed to outweigh those cons. And those cons can't be nothing that's going to cause you to lose sleep at night. They can't be nothing that's like serious business. So I'm just like, here we go back with that, because she feels like Felipe can be her forever husband, but I personally feel like she's just gotten lost in the sauce all over again. And that's the thing for me when it comes to Tori. It's like I have hope in her, and then I lose it. And then I get it again, and then I lose it. So, anyways, Mecca and Bel Jolie go for a walk and talk. And he's telling her she shouldn't have to be put in certain situations. And she says, yeah, I shouldn't have to. But at the same time, it's happening for a reason. And it's helping me learn more about myself. I like Belle Jolie, I really do. But the way she keeps being a covering for his trifling ways is no good. It is no bueno, okay? It is not cool. And my question for you, Belle Jolie, is why don't we ever see you sock it to this man for real and call him out on his nonsense? I might even ask when the cameras are around. And I'll give you a little pass. If you're doing it when the cameras aren't around, how come we ain't never heard about it? Why didn't you say, oh, listen, I gave it to him when them cameras went down? I gave it to him last night. Or even if you don't say when the cameras went down, or I gave it to him last night, or I told him about stuff. We never hear that. You always excuse it. It's like you'll be upset about it, or you might make a little comment in the moment, or you might pout a little bit like you did with him the last time you wanted your space and you didn't want him to say nothing to you, but then you're over it. That's wild to me. And do you realize that what you're doing could potentially help your situation for the worst and not for the better? But if you were to open your mouth and speak up, it can actually help you for the better. Like, you're hindering everything right now, because what you're doing is giving him a pass in his mind to keep doing what he's been doing, because he knows you're going to be there to clean it up. And when it's all said and done, that's going to be that. He going to do it again. And it's going to be like, questions asked? I don't think so. You know what this is. You know what it was when you signed up, right? So come on, man. And so I'm disappointed. I just want to move on because he's being performative, even in what he's saying after that to her and all the nonsense. And yes, I said performative, Mecca, all right, and Bel Jolie, because I know you'll come for me too, girl, if you could, to defend your man. But anyways, you saying you know that you can be better for him and what he needs, but I'm like, okay, but what about him being better for you, and what you need will become part of the equation? Like, when will that happen? Because I have seen a tinge of it compared to what you're giving, and that tinge, I'll say, it was the whole birthday thing. And even then, I believe I mentioned I felt like that was just more so him, probably. It was sweet, but potentially doing it because he felt like he should do that. He should do that for his good friend. Shawn and Nikki go to dinner. Shawn and Nikki go to dinner. Gosh. She's catching him up about combos from the retreat regarding the spouses and looks, particularly the example of Mecca and Bel Jolie, which caused her to transition into how Shawn came for her looks with that whole Seattle, New York comment and how it stung. If you don't remember the comment, I do. Remember, in Seattle, he said she's about a 10, but if she were in New York, she'd be a 7. Okay. And so, in other words, she come to my state where I'm born and raised, she gonna be a 7. She ain't gonna compare a mess. I cannot. Anyways, I say, but, and I say, however, what we didn't know was that there was more to that story, and there's a way that we got there, because Shawn shares by asking her, "But do you remember right before me saying that, you grabbing my belly fat and being like, 'Look at you'? Do you remember that moment?" And so she says no. And he said they were in the pool. And when she did that, it prompted him to say, "Well, listen, we're both not all that." And he says it was a response to that moment. And I said, okay, well, that brings a little bit more context for me. And he's adamant about it happening. She's adamant about not remembering it. But Shawn, two wrongs do not make a right. And I know he kind of admitted to that in his own way. They both end up apologizing for each other. And I'm like, yikes and yowzers. This tangle that they do every other day is just way too much, y'all. And I think most of us have concluded by now that they both show out in their own ways and at different times. And I'll say, to Shawn's overall score on things, I probably would add an extra 5 more points to him because I know he shows out just a little bit more. But at the end of the day, they're two people you just want to put in timeout. You be like, "Shawn, you go over there in that corner. Nikki, you go over there. Okay. And don't come out until I tell you to, because they are just too much. Like, I don't know why they can never get it together. I really don't. But we now go over to Mercer and Adam, who are laid up and sick together. They're taking care of each other. Great. Nothing really to see here, folks. Let's move on. But before we do, I will say, in all honesty and fairness, if they really were a little more serious, at least more so him with her, then I kind of would like what they have going, right? They seem to still kind of flow with one another. They have a good time with one another, but all that serious business just isn't there. And obviously, you need that too, right? You can't have one element without having all the necessary elements. So it just sucks because I feel like even if they were to proceed and say yes on decision day, how long is that really going to last? How long? I want to be wrong. I hope that they can prove us wrong some type of way. Maybe they'll be the couple that ends up miraculously making it to surprise us all. But he's definitely got to do better. He really does. So we'll see. But we now have Tori, and she feels after the couple's retreat, her and Felipe are stronger than ever. They're laying in the bed and he's whispering all these sweet nothings in her ear, which I think came from his mom and friend talking him off that ledge, the same ledge that he keeps returning to time and time again, that I think he's eventually going to jump off of. So let's move on. So it's one day before decision day. Cam and Michelle share a sweet date that Cam ends up planning. And he says in his side interview, he's never had a woman who's made him feel so secure and had his back. And Michelle has just been amazing. And they both end up getting emotional again about how they feel towards one another. And again, I'll say, I just can't understand how it'd be so difficult to root for their success, being so we got to watch how they navigated their situation from the beginning until now, and not feel what they're giving. It's like, again, how could you not, even in spite of the fact that they're going to face hardships? But I think they'll be quite all right, even though, like I said, even through their difficult times, because they have a level of seasoning to them both as individuals that make great ingredients to creating something as one that could last a long time or a lifetime. And I hope it lasts a lifetime for them. But even one of his fears he shared was minor to me, because he's saying he feels like he'll lose independence and freedom in being married. I said, well, Cam, that's why time away from your spouse was invented. Okay. Meaning, like, well, yes, your time is going to look different now that you're married, but you'll still be able to do you and have you time. At least I would like to think so. At least you should. That isn't always the case, but I feel like Michelle will give him that. I really do. I Technically, we still don't know these people from a can of paint, right? We only know what we've been given on TV. We don't know their futures, but it's just one of those things. Even with coaching, that's time away. That'll allow you a little time to yourself. Or just marriages in general, like my marriage. And I'm sorry I have to always bring my marriage up, but it's kind of hard not to when we're discussing a show related to marriage. But I still have my me time and my husband has his me time, and or his time, and we come together. I like to do things independently, whether it's with my friends, if I go out to eat or something like that. And sometimes I like to do most times I like to do my solo dolo thing. I'll go eat lunch by myself. I've gone to the movies by myself. I'll go shopping by myself and find so much joy in it, y'all. Or whatever, just having that time. If I'm at home, I might go watch a movie by myself. Sometimes you just need that. It's important to fuel yourself in that type of way so that you could be good for your relationship as well. And it's the same thing with my husband. I'll allow him his time. He does his thing, whether it's with his boys, whether it's with himself or whatever. And then we just meet up together and we do our things together. So I don't think that should be an issue. And like I said, that's an easy fix. And then you guys will spend your time together. She says that she's worried about the distance and is willing to change her job because she had plans on doing that anyway. Her being in this marriage just kind of pushed her to get it going a little bit more. And according to them, they're both each other's ride or die. And I think they'll work, like I said, because they both want to and they truly seem to be into one another. So shout out, cheers, best wishes to them. Back at Mecca and Bel Jolie's place, Mecca claims he's not full of himself. But in my opinion, he absolutely is. Okay. So I'm going to go back yet again to what I said from the beginning. Because how are you now telling her what her thoughts are towards you? And I know she kind of started by being like, oh, I know you act like you can read my mind, but the things that came out of his mouth, per usual, right? Because he proceeds to say, I really like this dude, Mecca. So this is him speaking for her. I really like this dude, Mecca. He's handsome. I'm definitely attracted to this guy. So there's two comments about your looks back to back. Definitely have some feelings for him, but he gets on my damn nerves. Certain things have happened one too many times. Catch that. And he's got some things he needs to work out. I said, okay, all that is interesting. It really is. And I hope she's really listening, which I know she is, but she's finding ways to make it all right in her mind. And the bottom line for me is that I don't care what he's saying about him wanting her to say yes on decision day and what it'll take. And he's going to say yes because, girl, he's just not that into you. Remember that? He's just not. He's let you know that on more than one occasion. All right. No, this is not a one and done. This is not, oh, it's helping a time or two. No, this is on multiple occasions, including now, because this is still giving your 150 to my 80 percentage. And I got to correct myself because I thought I was wrong on my last video. I thought he was talking ratios, but he actually was talking percentages. So it's giving that same type of energy. Like you're seeing it way more for me than I am for you. And I feel like he's forcing himself to feel it at this point because he doesn't want to look like the bad guy. Before, I thought he might have been in his head more, and he probably was, but I still think he was fighting himself or ended up fighting himself like, yeah, but I just can't do it. I don't see it for her. Yeah, she cool and everything, but damn, like she just ain't what I'm going for. And meanwhile, she's also totally misinterpreting, in my opinion, what he's throwing in her face. For example, he's saying he's in love with the core of who she is, and she's thinking that means he's just afraid to say he loves her or is in love with her as a whole. And to me, I'm like, he made such a distinction when he explained that because he was so sharp to be like, yeah, with you as the person, just with you. You know what I mean? Like it was giving, I'm being specific, right now. Because I want you to know it ain't everything. I ain't in love with your looks though, but I'm in love with this and I'm in love with that. And I'm thinking he loves the person you are as his buddy and his buddy only, not as his true romantic companion. I think they'll both say yes. Obviously, they've talked about it, and I definitely think she will. Unfortunately, though, she's putting his feelings first without really considering her own. And she said she's considering her feelings, but I just don't believe that. And she's going to be in for a whirlwind of more bad behavior and insults for him. And she's going to get tired of defending him. Eventually, she'll get there. Maybe that's just one of these things where you got to go through it to really get the lesson. And I wouldn't even trust when, like he said, he's staring me down in those moments where he claims he's silently admiring me. Because it's like, is that what it really is? Or are you thinking of another way you can mold my body into what you want? Because after my breast, I mean, is my butt going to need to be a little bigger? Like, yeah, no, I just don't trust anything he says. And apparently she has it to do. So good for her. And it's giving pick me. I hate to say that, but I'll just say on a more positive note, I hope for her sake it all works out and that he becomes for her what she's wanting for him. Everyone's packing up and saying their goodbyes so they could spend the night away before decision day. And we're back to you know who. Gosh, Shawn and Nikki. It was going so well, y'all. It was going so well until it wasn't. Right on par, right on schedule. And so he asked her for a feeling word singular, right? As in one, right? So I get that, I'll admit. And when she started over explaining because it wasn't a one word explanation, and she elaborated so much more. He cuts her off and says, okay, you didn't have to give a speech. And I'm like, rude, rude. And since I like things in three, rude again. Like, dude. While I understand he asked for one word and feels like she went off on a major tangent, there's a way he could have reeled that back in. And what he said wasn't what I had in mind. Plus, it's like, let's pull out our keyword from last review, right? Shawn, give her a little bit of grace. Because at the end of the day, she's still expressing her feelings to you nonetheless. The time for working on that and tweaking that, y'all can revisit that another day, another time. But right when she's about to walk out the door, you just got to stick the jab in, right? And I'm like, okay. And right before decision day at that, too. And he notices before she's about to walk out the door that she's highly irritated and asks her about it. To which she responds that she is because she didn't like being cut off. And he's ready to use their tools to process what's happened. And listen, I would have been ready for them to take them tools and shove it where the sun don't shine. I'm like, if you don't get this tool talk out my face right now, I'm trying to go. You done piss me off. Let me leave so I can simmer down because what is there to talk about right now? You said what you said. You done pissed me off right as we were doing good. I've got to go. We'll talk. Let me call you when I get to where I'm going because that's a mess. And I said, Shawn, why of all the times would you want to end on that note? It's crazy how he has a funny way to me of doing rapid damage control to push things aside like they didn't just happen and like it's no big deal. He's very antagonistic, but these things we already knew because even part of me in this moment feels like he didn't really care for what was happening. Like it's almost like he had somewhat of a slight smirk on his face, like, yeah, okay, I don't care, girl. Like, all right, you'll be all right. Like, what else is new? You got an attitude. And it could have been too, right? Because it's like, listen, I'm planning on saying no anyway, so let's wrap this right on up because with his level of arrogance, for him to say yes, I'll be surprised. And I wouldn't know we got a little quick clip of what's to come and how he's making it seem like she's changing for the better. But yeah, what's the comma after that? Because I don't know. And maybe he'll say yes if he had sense. I don't know. But even then, I don't know if I should say he should say yes because their dynamic is just yeah, it's just not a good one. They're gonna keep being on this same merry-go-round and this same hamster wheel. But anyways, so um she says she has or feels she has a lot to think about and is now super conflicted with how things just went. And I said, girl, but don't be. You told him you didn't know your answer prior to the mishap y'all just had, but I'm pretty confident you knew what your answer or know what your answer is going to be. But anyway, so we see Tori and Felipe dressed and meeting up for their decision day, just the two of them. And I like this new setup. I do. It's almost giving like first look with the bride and the groom to where, the groom would be facing away from the bride. And then the bride approaches and he turns around just to see her stunning in all her glory. And she sees him looking like a knight in shining armor. So, really cool. I mean, I don't know what's to follow after this or when the experts will pop out, but it's still intimate. And I like that. And so he presents her with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. But I said, hold up. All right. Because, okay, the flowers all good, but then no good from there. I said, it's him saying in his speech, forget her bringing him breakfast at 11 a.m. when he's just waking up. Like he's like 11 a.m., you're just waking up. But him saying she's already up for hours doing stuff while he's just waking up for me. I said, oh, hell no. So, in other words, another issue on the table, which we already kind of had an idea of, is that I'm going to be taking care of a grown man like I'm his mama, especially since it's already what his mama does. I said, "Oh no, not me, no ma'am, no sir. I'll definitely take care of you, but not to the extent that you won't be able to take care of yourself." And you're relying solely on me to do it and not giving me the care that I need in return. Because that's just not how this works. And Tori says she doesn't know what to say, and she's looking visibly bothered in that moment. I kind of was like, she looked like she was a little stunned. So I'm like, well, what's happening here? And not in a good way. Not with those starry, gazy eyes that she was giving him when they were laid up and he was telling her all of nothing, or that we've seen her give before. So I'm like, what's going on here? And then I said, well, maybe it's just her nerves. But oh, quickly, she ends up letting us know that in her side interview, her and Felipe had a conversation when they moved out that she didn't anticipate. She said a bomb was dropped on her that wasn't filmed and she wasn't having it. I said, oh boy. Continues on to say she's hurt and it seems cruel and heartless. I said, oh, that's bad. Like, that's bad, bad. That's like, what? So, yeah. And again, then, Tori, I said, I hope what you're about to say then is followed by a no, maybe even a hell no. Okay. Because you've been given multiple signs. You really have. And she asked him if he thinks what she told him is normal. And he said he regrets this heavily and seen. We're left with the cliffhanger until next episode. When I tell you, I can't wait. I'm almost kind of not too mad about this review getting out so late. Forgive me for y'all's sake, and I'm sure you guys aren't pressed about it. But because I'm like, I wouldn't have been able to wait another couple of days. So I'm glad we'll know tomorrow what's going down. And I'm going to try my best if I can to watch it tomorrow night. Well, definitely by Friday. Because I'm like, what did he do and what did he say? Just when you didn't and if she's thinking this is as intense as it is, and we've already seen the intense stuff, and I felt like even with that stuff, she kind of was still somewhat giving him passes, then I can't even imagine what came out this man's mouth. And to that friend who feels like, oh, you say stupid things, I want to know if whatever he said, his friend is going to think is okay. So just curious to know. And I said, sidebar, y'all, also, I'm hoping on decision day, because I will be looking, Mecca finally went and got that fresh manicure. At least for decision day, just have your fresh manicure. But anyways, y'all, I digress. The music is on. The dance floor is lit. Don't be no prude and hold up the wall. Hop on the floor. Let me know your comments. What are your thoughts for who's making it and taking it and who's not and forgot? um or do your two step, do your spin. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know something that I didn't touch upon that you want to address and talk about, because yeah, this one was pretty crazy. I would have liked for Mecca and Bel Jolie to really work out, but he's just not ready. He is a hindrance right now. And maybe they too, I can throw them in the bucket to say maybe if they had more continuous counseling, that could help. But I just don't know. I feel like to the deep root of him, he's just not into her. And I really just don't know how much that's going to change. Like I said, or to get them outside of that platonic kind of a box, or technically friends with benefits box, because that's what I feel like they're given. But anyways, y'all, I won't ramble and bamble too much longer. I hope that this video found you well and in good spirits, and if not, I hope that I said a little something to put a smile on your face. I'm sending you all social hugs, and until we meet again, which shoot will be another day or two, y'all know what to do. Y'all stay up, y'all stay blessed, and I'm out. Peace.